Hello. Welcome back to STM Narratives. Before we begin, please comment where you are watching from and the time. The sun burned brightly over the cracked asphalt of the suburban street, casting long shadows across the quiet neighborhood. It was a calm afternoon, birds chirping in the nearby trees, and families enjoying the last golden rays of the day. That peace was shattered when a loud siren pierced the air, the shrill whine ricocheting off the houses. In a white sedan with a dented bumper, Mariah Green, a 32-year-old black woman, clutched the steering wheel tightly. Her hands trembled slightly as she glanced in the rearview mirror at the flashing red and blue lights. She was 7 months pregnant, her swollen belly pressing against the lap belt. Her caramel skin glistened with a thin sheen of sweat from the stress. "Why are they pulling me over?" she muttered to herself, her voice shaky. Mariah had always been cautious, a rule follower to her core. She never sped, never ran a red light, and always signaled her turns. She exhaled slowly, trying to calm her racing heart as she pulled over to the side of the road. From the patrol car behind her, two officers stepped out. One was Officer Travis Calloway, a burly man with a square jaw and cold, steely eyes. His posture screamed arrogance as he adjusted his utility belt and strutted toward her car. His partner, Officer James Whitman, was slimmer and younger, but his expression was a mirror of Calloway's disdainful smirk. Mariah rolled down her window halfway, just as her husband had taught her. "Keep calm, be respectful, but protect yourself," he'd always said. "License and registration," Calloway barked, his tone sharp and devoid of warmth. Mariah fumbled with her purse, pulling out her wallet and the documents from the glove compartment. "Officer, can I ask why I'm being pulled over?" Calloway's eyes narrowed, his lips curling into a sneer. "You can ask, but I'll tell you after you give me what I asked for." Mariah handed over the paperwork, her fingers brushing his as he snatched it from her. "I don't understand. I wasn't speeding or—" "Step out of the car," Calloway interrupted, his voice booming. Mariah froze, her heart thudding in her chest. "Step out? Why?" Calloway leaned down, his face inches from the window. "Do I need to repeat myself?" Whitman hovered a few feet behind his partner, his hand resting on his holstered weapon. He glanced around nervously, as if to check for witnesses, but no one seemed to be outside. Mariah swallowed hard. "Officer, I'm pregnant. Can you please tell me what this is about?" Calloway's face hardened, a muscle in his jaw twitching. "I said, get out of the car. Now." Whitman shifted uneasily. "Travis, maybe we should—" "Shut up and back me up," Calloway snapped without looking at his partner. He dragged Mariah from the car with brute force, her feet scraping against the pavement. Her knees buckled, and she fell to the ground, clutching her stomach. "Please, you're hurting me." Calloway loomed over her, his face twisted with disdain. "You people always think you can talk your way out of anything. What did I do?" Mariah wailed, her voice cracking. "Why are you doing this?" "Suspicious behavior," Calloway said flatly, as if that were enough of an explanation. Whitman stood a few feet away, his hand still on his gun. He looked uncomfortable, his eyes darting between Calloway and Mariah. "Travis, she's pregnant," he said quietly. "And?" Calloway barked. "She's resisting arrest." Mariah looked up at Whitman, her eyes pleading. "Please help me. I haven't done anything wrong." Whitman's lips parted as if he were about to say something, but Calloway cut him off. "Don't get soft on me now, rookie." Calloway grabbed Mariah's wrists, forcing them behind her back. The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into her skin. She screamed, her body contorting to protect her stomach. "Stop resisting," Calloway shouted, though she wasn't resisting at all. The scene was a blur of chaos and desperation. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains, some filming with their phones, but too afraid to intervene. "Help me!" Mariah screamed, her voice hoarse. "Shut up!" Calloway barked, dragging her to her feet. Whitman stepped forward, his voice low but urgent. "Travis, this is too much. She's not even fighting back." Calloway glared at him. "Do your job or get back in the car." Mariah's knees buckled again, and she crumpled to the ground. The world around her spun, her vision blurring as panic set in. My baby, please, she whispered. Calloway rolled his eyes. Drama queen. At that moment, a car screeched to a halt nearby, and a woman stepped out. She was in her late 40s, with silver-streaked hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. Her name was Karen Delaney, a retired nurse who had seen the entire ordeal from her living room window. What the hell is going on here? Karen demanded, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Calloway turned to her, his expression irritated. Ma'am, step back. This doesn't concern you. The hell it doesn't. Karen shot back. She pointed at Mariah, who was now slumped on the ground, clutching her belly. She's pregnant, and you're manhandling her like she's a criminal. Ma'am, I'm warning you, Calloway said, his voice low and threatening. Karen crossed her arms, unfazed. You can warn me all you want, but I'm not going anywhere. Someone has to stand up to this nonsense. Whitman's face flushed red as he looked at Karen, then back at Mariah. He seemed torn, his grip tightening on his belt. Mariah's sobs grew softer, her energy draining. Please, I need a doctor, she whispered. Karen knelt beside her, glaring up at the officers. If you don't call an ambulance right now, I will. And trust me, you don't want that kind of attention. Calloway hesitated, his arrogance faltering for the first time. He glanced around, noticing the growing number of onlookers, phones pointed in their direction. This is out of control, Whitman muttered. Fine, Calloway snapped, pulling out his radio. Get an ambulance here. Now. Karen stayed with Mariah, holding her hand and whispering soothing words. You're going to be okay, sweetheart. Just breathe. Help is on the way. When the paramedics arrived, they loaded Mariah onto a stretcher, her face pale but her grip strong on Karen's hand. Calloway stood to the side, his jaw tight as the crowd murmured. Someone shouted, You're going viral, buddy. Whitman finally spoke up, his voice firm. We need to file a report. This was excessive. Calloway spun on him, his eyes blazing. You want to ruin your career over this? I want to do the right thing, Whitman said, his voice steady. The officers returned to their car as the ambulance sped away, the crowd's angry shouts echoing in their ears. In the hospital, Mariah was monitored closely. Her baby was fine, but the emotional trauma lingered. Karen stayed by her side, holding her hand and promising to help her fight for justice. The video of the incident spread like wildfire, sparking outrage across the nation. Calloway's excuse during the internal investigation only added fuel to the fire. She looked suspicious, he said unapologetically. And she didn't comply. The arrogance in his tone ignited protests, and Mariah's story became a rallying cry against police brutality. She vowed to use her voice to ensure no one else endured what she had. Mariah's strength inspired thousands, but the scars of that day would remain. A reminder of a system that had failed her, but also of her resilience to fight for a better world.